Welcome to Voices of Women. I'm Chris Danis, your host, and also the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation in Seattle, Washington. And today I'm interviewing actually a new person to me. She contacted me wanting to share her story. Her name is Victoria Van Zandt, and she is a trained art therapist from Phillips Graduate Institute and a licensed marriage and family therapist in Los Angeles. So she works a lot with women in the creative process for healing. So welcome, Victoria. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Chris. I'm really happy to be here. Yes, so I'm a art therapist in Los Angeles and a licensed marriage and family therapist, which you said, and I've been leading women's creativity groups for over 10 years now. And I lead bi-monthly creativity workshops for women, and each time we meet, there's a different medium. So one of the things I started out doing with the groups was it was just primarily mandalas, and that changed a few years ago to incorporating many different types of medium. So we do collage, we do art journaling, we can do clay, and the groups vary in size from maybe 4 to, I've had as many as 14 women, different ages, different backgrounds, but primarily women over the age of 18. And so it's just so powerful to see women come together and create together, because art therapy specifically is a here and now process. And it's about the process rather than the product. And it's just so amazing to see how women, especially who have continued to return, are able to move past perfectionism, self-doubt, and they really learn to let the process just happen without that critical voice stepping in. So I really love the groups because it's very different than the private practice that I have, because these women come because they really want to learn about the creative process. So they want to be there versus sort of have to be there for their mental well-being.
But
So
there is a healing with that creative process. I mean, they're coming there maybe for art and exploring that and that creative process. But from that is, it's also a healing process. And I imagine you see a lot of women exploring issues that come out through, that subconscious comes through, our fingers just do a lot of things when we're doing art. And so a lot of things, I imagine, come up for them.
Well, there's so many things that come up, whether, a person is struggling with perfectionism, self-doubt, self-esteem. I have one woman that's been coming for many years, probably about 5 years now, and she was a victim of domestic violence and was in a shelter when she first started coming. And she has since become my assistant, so to speak. She helps me set up. She knows how the workshops run, and so she's been a really vital part to the process of the workshops. And she has really grown over the years, and she's healed. Especially, I mean, she's living on her own now. She's since divorced from her abuser, and she's really moved on with her life. And she has said how important having a creative process is for her. And she's really has been an asset to the group too, because many times she shares her story, which is so powerful. So
Yeah, that's something about Women of Wisdom. It's all about sharing your story. And when you share your story, you are witnessed. When you do that, when you speak and share your story, that's where the healing process really begins.
it really does. And I have one woman that's been coming off and on over the years, and the last year she's brought her 93-year-old mother, who was a victim of the Malibu fires and lost her home in the fires. I think it was in November 18. And it was, the art that she did was amazing. And her daughter said, she's never really done art before. She's a poet, but she put her words to images, and they were really powerful about escaping the fire. And she was so, here's a 93-year-old woman telling her story and to a mixed group of women. And it was just so the generations vary and they all have such unique stories.
Oh, that's great to hear it from a 93-year-old woman, to have that elder voice. And you say you have, mixed ages, that for the elder voice to be listened to. And I'm sure, I think there's a give and exchange with in all ages. We say we learn from our elders, but the elders also learn from the young people, and it's so powerful.
Yes, and it was just really wonderful to see her put her experience down. I mean, she did, we sometimes do poetry and then we do art around the poems, and everybody gets a small journal that they can work in, and on one page they have the poem, and then the other side they do the art. And it her piece was quite powerful. So yeah, so there are a range of ages, there are a range of backgrounds. There's, the where I hold the art workshops is in an adult daycare center in the art room, and it's in a park, building within a park. And I had a woman once who had brought her sons to play basketball, and she saw my poster up and she asked if she could join us. And that was really fantastic because she had never done art before, and she lived way out into Tehachapi, which is, quite a few miles away from Los Angeles. So sometimes we have people just come in from out of the blue. So.
Hmm. Well, and a lot of us have that art critic in ourselves, that I can't do art. And yet this kind of process, it isn't about perfection or knowing how to do the art. It's just exploring and expressing yourself. And really, we all have it in ourselves. And that's great. You start with poetry too. And just to get the written word down and then express that in art. I would imagine some things come up just intuitively that just probably surprise people, like, wow, I didn't know that was there.
Oh, all the time. And images are very powerful, and colors and symbols, because they access the emotional aspect of the brain. So it many times the women are completely surprised about what comes up, or in the process of something that it doesn't look like, oh, this wasn't what I wanted it to look like. But then they learn how to keep moving forward with the process. And whether we're doing like acrylic paint, they can do layers. So they start layering, and the piece that they thought was not what they wanted, or they didn't like, or they weren't happy with, they can do layers, and they can keep moving forward with the piece, ending up with a piece that really tells a story and something that they're happy with. And so that's really powerful too. I always stress kind of keep moving forward with the piece, you know, keep keep moving forward. Add some collage, add some more paint, add some words. And so you watch how the art um uh, changes with the layers, and how it transpires over the workshop. And so that's really cool too, that um how if you stick with it, what can transpire during the process. So I really love that.
Yeah, that's kind of fascinating, because there are layers, and sometimes we kind of hit a superficial layer, and oh, this is nice art, I like it, and yet pushing yourself to go that deeper layer, and then again that deeper layer, to just like, I imagine, as a therapist, you would talk to people to get to that deeper level, which can be kind of hard in that environment, versus art, you're doing it in a different element, and they can do it without that fear of maybe exposing themselves or being too vulnerable.
Yeah, well, I provide a safe, supportive setting, and so you have to ask to give feedback, and so that's very helpful. And so many times feelings do come up. A story will come up around the art, and women are free to express those feelings. And if tears come up, tears are welcome. And So it really is and many of the women are returning women. And so they've got to know each other. They've built friendships, which I think is so powerful because I'm a believer in connecting. And so they've gotten to know many of them have gotten to know each other. And so everybody that comes is incredibly supportive, and they know that it's a safe place. And if anybody is feeling overwhelmed, they're always welcome to step out of the room for a minute if they need to, and to come back. So I really express the importance of the safety in the group.
Yeah, it's
And
so important. You're building trust, and that's
total,
a little
total
bit safer
trust.
to bring things up that are so personal.
And many women will say, I don't have an opportunity in my life to share like this, to create art in a safe place. And so that is something that I've heard numerous times, that this is the only place. It's not an art class. And that's something that I always stress. Even though you might walk away with something like, wow, I've learned how to create mandalas, or I've learned how to do art journaling. It's a tool that they can take with them beyond the workshop, but it's not an art class where there's a right or wrong way to create something. Whatever comes out, whatever is, an expression of their heart, their feelings, is, there's no right or wrong way to create their art. And many women come back, they keep coming back, and they keep sticking to it. And I said, that's part of this. It's a meditative process too, because I encourage quiet while we're creating art. And uh, so that's silence. And many times we'll have music. I've done art pieces where the painting is in response to different music, so I'll have different music. And so that's so many. Sometimes women like music, sometimes they want quiet. And the thing that I've learned too is some women want structure. Tell me what to do. Other women want to be totally open to just create. And so I will have women that will come in and say, I'm not an artist. And I said, but you have a creative spirit. All of us have creative spirits. So it's not about creating something that's perfect, but it's about creating something that speaks from your heart and from your soul. And that's what makes it perfect.
Mhm. So we're in this time of our country and the world of being staying at home. Are you doing any of these art things online? Because there is an element, that you can make that happen for people.
Yes, well, that's interesting you say that, Chris, because in the beginning I was very resistant to it. I thought, oh my gosh, uh, so my critic was coming out, and I was saying, what if I don't know how to do the Zoom thing? What if I, fumble it up? But I have invited a few of the women, about 10 of the women that are regulars in the workshop for this Saturday, and we're going to do a mandala relaxation Zoom art gathering. And so that's going to be my first crack at it. And I've just given myself permission to have it be what it's going to be. And I have one woman actually that's she moved to New Zealand when she came to the workshops for, wow, about a year. And then she moved to New Zealand. So she's going to join us. So I'm really just going to have it be what it's going to be. And that's actually kind of my motto, doing workshops um, where I had a vision for it, and then the vision totally changed, and I kind of had to go along with that process. And so that's kind of how I hope the Zoom will be. I have a laid back approach, and I'm flexible, and I think I'm going to continue to do that. So that's a long answer to your question.
Yeah. So how, because I've been interviewing a lot of people and just what life is like for you now, being a stay-at-home, how your life has changed, what you might see, what is bringing this forward that you might continue in these changes that, hey, this kind of new way of living, there's parts of it that I like, and of course there's parts that are difficult. How's it been for you?
It's been I'm single and I live alone except for my dog. But what I have found is that having an art process has been so helpful. I mean, it is what I turn to, and that I have many hobbies and I have many interests. So that I feel is so important for women to have. I haven't found myself getting bored. I love to do research. I have been keeping if you could see it,
Oh yeah.
uh, mandala, and a friend re titled it as a pandala, a Pandala. So I've kept my a mandala journal and pretty much almost daily do a mandala. And an idea will just come to me and I'll take out my gel pens or my markers and I'll just start. So but the thing that the challenge is, I'm used to being able to run to Blick and get some art supplies that maybe I don't have, and so I've had to order some more supplies online just for my own personal use. But so that has been a sort of a big change for me. And but I have been doing some writing on my Facebook page, and I'm working on a creativity workbook for women that I hope, but that I started a couple years ago, and I even see that kind of changing shape now with what's going on. And so I've been kind of like, okay, which way should I go with this now that our lives have changed so much? So I have that to work on. So I really try to keep myself engaged in some type of a creative practice.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, when we go through a lot of different feelings, there's been a lot of fear, anxiety that comes up, and just the fact that you have a daily art practice is a good way to recognize what's up for you in your feelings and also release it, let it go. We're sort of in a go with the flow mode. It's really time to be more quiet, to be still. I find I don't want to do too much. I feel good if I get one thing done a day of something I need to accomplish. And I find if I do too much, I can feel that overwhelm. It's like, no, that was too much for right now. Because there's so much going, the body feels that anxiety and that collective fear. And so there's a lot going on inside ourselves that it's really important to take care of ourselves. So it sounds like you're doing that with art. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think it's as a therapist, the therapist in me is that it's okay to have all these conflicting feelings and to have these feelings. And art is one way to express them and to kind of get them out on the blank page, so to speak, or to write about them. I'm a big believer in journaling, so I journal every day. And I think these are practices that are so important for, you know, in this case, for women to have, for everybody to have, but specifically for women to have. And that it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be frustrated and confused. And so I'm a real proponent of allowing any feelings that come up to come up and just say, wow, I'm feeling really kind of overwhelmed right now, and that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say that I've been just sailing through this without the emotional challenges that come up. It's been hard, and especially I have a chronic illness, so I've been in the beginning told, don't go to the market, don't do this, don't do that, and so I've had to ask for help a lot.
Mhm.
And that's another aspect of this. If you don't live with somebody to go running errands for you, that having to ask for support and ask for help. So
Right, right. And there's really allowing we have good days and bad days. And I've seen everybody that I've talked to go through that and just, let it be. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow will be a better day. and we're just in this time frame. Well, there was, you mentioned a chronic illness, but I think you had emailed that you also had to have an elective surgery that you've had to postpone.
Yes.
And,
Oh,
you know, so many people have, and that must be also kind of a worrisome and frustrating to, you know, you probably planned something for a long time, and now all of a sudden, no, can't have it.
that's right. And I pretty much had to make that decision on my own. I mean, I did get in touch with one of my physicians that I've known a very long time, and he couldn't really say yay or nay, but it was just that conversation. I felt in my gut, this is not a good time, because it was not just going into the hospital, but it was who's going to take care of me when I come home. And it was supposed to be a month recovery, and I didn't want strangers coming in and out of my house. I couldn't have a friend be in the hospital with me. And so but I felt this incredible weight off my shoulders once that decision was made. But actually 2 days ago, the surgeon contacted me and said, I haven't forgotten about you. And I thought, oh, I wish you had. You know, so, you know, it's not something that's canceled completely, but, you know, and it's not something I'm looking forward to, but I've always believed that I'll cross that bridge when I have to. And I try to really stay in the moment and not look down the road too far. And I think that's very important, that we have to really practice staying in the here and now and in the moment.
Yeah, that's one of the lessons that we are, you know, it really is about it's what's happening right now. And you can't really worry about tomorrow. I mean, I know some people probably worry, am I going to get the virus? You know, am I going to get sick? Someone in my family going to get sick? And there's nothing you can do about other than being safe and doing all the precautions you can. The worry and anxiety of that isn't going to help you, but it's really staying present. Well, what do you need right now? What do you need to stay healthy? What do you need to eat? Make sure you're getting sleep, and having what you're doing, that creative outlet of, yeah, because we can kind of get bored if we, you know.
Yeah, I've not only bored, but I have heard a friend of mine in Florida who lost her job said, I'm not feeling like I have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do an online mindfulness Zoom gathering every Sunday, and that idea of purpose came up. And it was very interesting, because it was like, we don't necessarily have to look externally for a purpose. We can look like, today my purpose is to be patient. That was something that I really had to incorporate. To be patient, to be kind and loving, and really, but patience was the one that I really wanted to invite into my inner self. And so I thought that that was very useful information, that I'm sure many are struggling with, feeling like, what's my purpose?
Well, that
And
makes this a great time to explore that, because it is an inner journey to explore
Mhm.
your purpose. It's not out there of what you externally do, the job you do. We express it, you know, if we have a purpose, a mission, and we express that. But a lot of times we might be in a fork of the road right now, and there's choices to make, and we can't. Doing that in an internal journey will actually get you there faster than kind of pushing on the yang of, well, let's try this, so maybe I want to do this, oh, that doesn't work, well, what, you know. And yet here, this time of just sitting with yourself, of what you're feeling, what's coming up for you, what is your soul calling for you, is
Mhm.
so, you know, I imagine so many things are going to come out for people when we come through this, if or whenever. A lot of changes in people's lives.
Definitely. And I think that it is a time, especially for women, to see, you know, who really kind of real self-discovery. And so maybe if you are home alone and your work is your something that encompasses a lot of your life, who else am I? You know, what else do I enjoy doing? What other hobbies can I incorporate into my life right now, or interests? I mean, you can learn almost anything on YouTube. So I think that it's a real period of self-exploration, self-discovery, and so that time of boredom can be used, because I think we'll look back and go, wow, I had all this time. And then everybody will be struggling with, what did I do? What
Well,
did
we
I
have to be
do when I
kind.
was home all that time?
Yeah, yeah, and we're gonna have to be kind and forgiving for ourselves of the things we didn't do, and just recognize we were just, you know, we were having a pause,
Yes. Yeah,
because we
and
could
it's
really beat
okay because
ourselves up like, oh, we didn't, I should have been doing this all this time. I had 6 months, and
right, right. And so, but even if we're just, I find it'll be 6 o'clock all of a sudden, I'll say, what did I do today? And I'm thinking, that's okay. It's okay if I just was on the sofa and doing, miscellaneous um, things on my to-do list or my nothing list. And that's okay too. I think many of us need a rest right now. And
yeah, that's
that's kind
true.
of what's happened. The universe is kind of, shaking us, and we're like trying to just, you know, move through this the best we can.
Yeah, it's kind of a wake-up call, and we're seeing the impact on our, the earth spoke. Let's, you know, stop. Let's get off this merry-go-round and take a look at, our culture, our society, our world, our economics, our politics, the wars, the
Yeah.
environment. I mean, it really is yeah, it's like, stop, wait a minute. You've been going too fast.
Yeah. And I mean, I think sometimes we experience that in our personal lives, whether we all of a sudden get sick with something and we have to slow down. And sometimes, if we don't do that on our own, some other force comes in to make us slow down. And this is almost like this force came in for the whole universe, like, slow down. It's
Yeah.
out of control. So
I imagine we'll be talking about this for years, and figuring it out and analyzing and I might get sick and tired of analyzing this to death. But I think there's going to be a real good opportunity for self-reflection and art, the creative art that you're doing. I highly encourage people to look into that. There's lots of creative art therapists in every city, and probably can people find things online and join creative art groups and just explore, because that's where you're talking about the woman, what's my purpose? That's one way you can find your purpose of what your spirit is calling for to come forward. Allowing that intuitive voice and that creative process that's nonlinear to come forward, and that's how we can make it through this time.
it is. And I think if you can even make your own little art journal with a bunch of paper or construction paper, anything you have, and staple together. And even if it begins with doodling, that's a very relaxing process, and you just doodle. And if you don't have any colored markers or gel pens, you can just start coloring in with a black pen, and you'll find that is something that anybody can do. Anybody can doodle, and anybody can start to just color in your doodle. And you just keep, like, if you did one a day, and I always say to date it. And you'll look back at that time and say, wow, those were the doodles I created during the pandemic. But so it's twofold. You're relaxing. It's something you can do if you're watching TV,
True.
and it's something you can just do if you're sitting on your balcony, or you want something to relax. And it doesn't take any talent. I mean, I would suggest a mandala if somebody really wanted to look into that, because you're working in a enclosed space with a circle, and so that provides safety, which many people are seeking right now. So you have the circle. And it's many times it's very intimidating to look at the blank page. So
Mm.
if you start with the circle, you have something there, and then you step into the circle and start with colors or shapes or anything. And you'll find it's very, very relaxing, and it's a meditative practice. So you have this way, you have something to focus on versus trying to focus on your breath, which can be challenging, but that's okay too. But the circle is a meditative practice when you're working on a mandala. So I
Right.
really invite women who are listening or tune into this interview to try that, to practice it.
Yes, and I would imagine of whenever we get to the other end of this, and life will be different, but it would be interesting to go back and look at these art pieces and see what came forward, because we may not see it in the moment, and we
Mhm.
may see it, like you say, if you do a daily practice and you look at a few months of art, the progression of what's speaking through you, and going, oh wow, look at that journey I just went through.
Mhm.
I started here and now I'm here. And
Yes.
just yeah, lots of information about yourself. Well, this has been great talking to you, Victoria, about this, and I'm glad that you are continuing to work online and can still meet with people. And I know it's an element. I'm going to meet with friends, or we've talked about doing little art things. You know, just three friends getting together and we talk and do art and whatever. And so it's just another way to connect and to connect through art. And that voice of art, our voice comes through in the art. So thank you for bringing that forward and being with us today.
You are very welcome, Chris. Thank you so much. I love talking about this topic. So anytime, I really am passionate about it. So thank you.
Well, good. And I hope that you get your elective surgery sometime soon and that you stay well and healthy.
Thank you. You too, Chris.